I'm making another album. And I'll be honest, I haven't been doing a lot of making another album in the last few days because I've been focused on preparing for a new workshop that I just delivered this morning called Turbo Lyric Attack, where I shared some of the ways that I'm making lyrics simple, fun and easy, and which have come out of the writing of these albums, because I'm really quite excited by what I've discovered, because I've realised the somewhat shocking fact, I think, that most of us make lyric writing way too hard. So anyway, I've been working on that and haven't done so much of the album work because I have various different... my weekend is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so I moved to a 4-day week to increase my productivity, the horrible P word, but to increase the amount that I was doing by doing it in a shorter time, which has worked a treat. So I have Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday off, apart from some coaching sessions in the morning and a Magic Music Machine session on Monday morning. So I only have a limited amount of time Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But that's no excuse. I will get back to it because I'm going to take the opportunity in this podcast to give myself a little motivation, because it strikes me that one of the reasons that I've slightly fallen off recently is that I need a compelling practice reason, or I need a compelling kind of... When I say non-musical, I mean, maybe what I mean is a growth reason. I need a compelling growth reason to make an album. In the last album, it was all new, so it was the first time I was making an album in public, in scare quotes. It was the first time, I had my Trello board public. It was the first time I was doing this podcast. It was the first time I was making an album with Mike like this. And I'm someone who, for good or bad, but it's both good and bad, I have to always be doing new things. It's almost a disability in some cases, because as soon as I feel like I'm doing something again, and that, what does it mean to do something again? Because in a way, making another tune is doing something again, right? But anyway, if I feel that I'm going over old ground, I instantly search for new things to do. And so the fifth album was really about the process, getting the process of finishing an album in 3 months. But really what it was about was slaying my singing dragon. And it strikes me, and I've slain it, it's gone. I don't have a problem. I mean, I do have a problem singing. You want to listen to some of my splurges. But what I mean is, I don't have a problem sharing my songs. It's not a big issue anymore. And funnily enough, that has meant that my interest has waned. I mean, it doesn't actually wane in the moment of actually making the album, but when there's 5,000 different things flying in left, right and centre that I need to do, it's almost like there needs to be a more compelling reason for me to, yes, this is a priority. Because at the end of the day, the time that you spend, I think to live a fulfilled life, an aligned life, if you like, the time that you spend doing whatever it is you're doing, or maybe time and energy, because it's not just time, but the time and energy you spend doing certain things wants to align as closely as possible with your values, with what's important to you. But your values, what's important to you, they need to be tended. They need to be looked after. They need to be kept front and center, which is why I'm such a big proponent of free writing and the kind of things that we do, the kind of exercises that we do aside from free writing in making an album with Mike and the Magic Music Machine, which is like keeping your music, right, recognizing, bringing it into your consciousness that how important it is to you. Because it's not an automatic thing. You have to water your values. you have to prune them, you have to look after them, you have to tend to them. And so what I'd like to talk about today is what my mission is going to be on this album. And I'm not really talking about the purpose of the album, that's still up in the air. I'm not really talking about anything to do with the musical mission of it, but I'm talking about my growth reason, because that's something that's different this album, is that in the last album I had a very clear mission, and this one, in this area, I don't. And I think what it has to be is summed up or encapsulated, or it can be, let's say, it's being, the signpost is one word: Autotune. So on the last album, on the 5th album, What Now, if you listen to it in the episode called Here It Is, and yes, I haven't properly released it yet, I will. So, and in fact, I'll talk about that, why nothing's happened yet, in a later episode. Anyway, so in the episode called Here It Is, which is, you'll hear me singing, and you'll hear that I very strongly, I turned Autotune all the way up to 100, literally. And because I felt that if I was going to use Autotune, I wanted to make it a thing, make it a feature. Thing is, in doing the splurges that I've been doing now, and also in working with Laura, with my singing coach, I've come to a realization about what Autotune represents and the reasons I'm using it. But bear in mind, before I sort of share with you what that realization is, even though this is true, and I think it's always been true, I still think, and I don't think I will ever think anything different, although I don't want to say for sure, can't be sure of anything, but I don't feel like I'm going to change my mind about this. In completing What Now, the last album, I feel I made the right decision, or at least it was a good decision, because there came a point, I remember talking to Laura, I think it was like the 2nd or 3rd singing lesson that I did with her back when I was making What Now, and I said, a goal is I'd really like to have at least one track on this album that doesn't have Autotune on it. And, and I think I even remember saying, and I'm sure I can do it. But I made a decision at some point in the making of it that I wasn't going to try that. I wasn't even going to attempt it. I was going to put that to one side for now. The reason being that I had so many things to think about. I had so many, in terms of making the album, I had so many problems to solve and so much to do in order to finish it, that I had to somehow lower the bar if I was to complete it. And crucially, if it was to be of a certain quality, if it was actually to reach a certain quality. Because if I decided not to use Autotune, and that, I could have done it, but it would have involved a lot of multiple different takes. It would have involved a lot of comping, and if you don't know what comping is, it means cutting in different takes into each other. And I really wanted to deliver a full performance of each of the tracks. So it was like seeing from beginning to end, because I kind of felt that there was a sort of authenticity to that. Now, I'll be honest with you, I think on a couple of the songs, but a minority, I can't actually remember which ones. I'm pretty sure that Agony was one of them, and I can't remember, I think there was one other. I think there were 2 takes that were cut together, but there was definitely no kind of hardcore comping where I'd take one word from here and one line from there. There was none of that. And I sang the song from beginning to end. The thing is, with a vocal, and this is something that's become very clear to me, is that with a vocal there are so many nuances to a good vocal performance, and only one of them is tuning. Okay, and even it's not necessarily the case. In fact, it's definitely not the case that something that is perfectly in tune is a better performance. And so I said, I actually quite like the sound of hardcore auto-tune. I'm a bit of a Daft Punk boy. I was around when sort of Daft Punk first came up. In fact, I was nearly signed to the same label that Daft Punk was on, Virgin Dance Department. Daft Punk were very, very beloved to me. So I really liked that kind of vocodary type sound. So that it felt authentic to do that, and I felt just not even going there, not even having to worry about tuning, and seeing what I could do with auto-tune almost as like an instrument seemed to be something that I could do to both save an enormous amount of time and get something done where I could just focus on the performance. So all of that to say is that I felt I made the right decision at that time. Having said that, on the other side, and this is the thing about being an artist. This is one of the points about being an artist. There is an upside and a downside to everything. Nothing is all upside. I think with auto-tune, one of the things I'm doing psychologically is hiding from a few things that I'm afraid of. So I think as a person, so I'm 50 years old now, and when I was a younger man, I look back and, with the risk of going onto the psychiatrist's couch with you, I won't go too deep, don't worry. So when I was a younger man, I feel that I had something of a lost decade, probably even longer, where I feel like I think I was just lost. I maybe didn't do very much of anything, and I was a bit of a party animal. And I think there's a fair amount of regret and shame and guilt that I feel about being given so many opportunities in my life and not acting upon them for such a long time. I feel to a certain extent I'm rectifying it now, and it may well be one of the reasons that you see me doing so many things is in order to kind of make up for lost time, or there is a positive side to this wanting to do something with my life. But on the other side of it, I do feel like there is a certain amount that I'm kind of hiding away from that past me. And, at the risk of kind of over egging the psychological pudding, so to speak, I think that part of my fear around singing, and possibly one of the reasons that I have used auto-tune to kind of cover up the inaccuracies, I've perfected the voice so that it's just almost like a robotic thing. It's like a mask, it's like a veil covering up something that I don't want people to see. And I actually realised this in a singing I don't want to say singing lesson, because they're not really singing lessons, they're more like vocal coaching sessions. In a vocal coaching session with Laura, who did an absolutely amazing job of helping me see this. And I realised at the end of this session that if there was one thing that I had to do on this next album, it was not use auto-tune. Because while I've defeated the dragon of singing at all and writing songs, this is a whole other dragon. This is the hidden dragon. The dragon within the dragon. Oh dear. So I think I even said to them, I'm not going to tell everyone about this. So apologies if you think I'm oversharing right now. Okay. So, and it's not really that I did anything to be like truly ashamed of. It's just that I feel I hold a lot of regret about things not done. And I think anyone, to be honest with you, anyone who gets to 50 or older who doesn't feel any regret probably has something wrong. Probably something wrong with them. Okay, so I feel like one of the things that I need to do, and I do need to make a commitment to you, and you'll forgive me for using you like this, but I need to make a commitment to, on this album, I'm not going to use Autotune at all. Because one of the other things I realized in not using it through the splurges I've been doing, and now the discovery sessions I'm doing, because we're into the execution phase, is that Autotune is great. As I said, I like it. It has a cool sound to it, and it's very authentic to me because of my kind of musical upbringing. But what it does is it removes so much. It's not just the tuning. It's just that it's the nuance, the imperfection, it's very hard to describe what it is. Like, as I said, things being slightly out or in tune actually are what creates the emotion. And I think it's that rawness of emotion that I've been afraid to display in my music until now. The human voice is such an expressive, such an expressive instrument. It's not funny. I've played the saxophone, the bassoon, the piano, and so, they're very expressive instruments. Yes, the bassoon is an expressive instrument. It's not just pop, 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 pop. It is a very expressive instrument. So I've played these kinds of instruments, and yeah, of course, they're incredibly expressive. I don't want to upset any piano players or any instrumental players. But because we use the human voice with words ourselves every single day to express ourselves, through talking, through listening to others, it's on a whole other level. The nuance, the fineness, what you can get across with just the slightest difference in the human voice is absolutely incredible. And I realized that what I was doing with Autotune, while I am still saying it was the right decision for the right time, what I have been doing is trying to make it more like an instrument and less like my voice. And why is that? It's because what I talked about, because I'm hiding from myself, hiding from the truth, maybe the pain of feeling like I failed in some way, or that I haven't fulfilled my potential, or some nonsense like that. And I feel it's really, really important to me to face that, to defeat this dragon. So there you have it. Hopefully I haven't overshared and freaked you out. Who is this guy with this terrible skeleton in his closet? I hope I haven't freaked you out too much. But that is, number one, my commitment. I'm not going to use Autotune on this album, this next album. And number two, the reason why, that is going to be my mission for this one. Whatever else I do on this album, it's going to be an album of songs with a person singing with zero Autotune, because it's the dragon that I need to defeat right now. So, with all that said, I better get on and start doing some singing because right now my singing is nowhere near good enough. So I better stop talking about making an album and start making one.